This episode of Spartan Up is brought to you by Athletic Greens. Ensure your body gets the nutrition it needs. Athletic Greens has a special offer for our listeners. Just go to athleticgreens.com/Spartan, and then when you place your order, they'll send you a free travel pack with 20 individually wrapped packets. That's a free offer just for our listeners.
Welcome back to Spartan Up Podcast. Today we are in Boston. We've got Joe, we've got Sefra, we've got Tim, Johnny, Marion, but we're going to take you to Vancouver, where Joe sat down with a few people a couple weeks ago, and one of them was Brian Scudamore. Brian Scudamore, there's an expression, one man's trash is another man's treasure. Brian Scudamore has created on its path to being certainly $1 billion empire.
And he's an awesome guy.
Yeah, really, really neat guy. This interview, I love this. I love how simple and straightforward he is about how he turned a trash junk removal business into a massive empire that is exploding beyond anything you could have imagined.
There's also another little secret I learned about Brian and his business, but I'm going to save that until after you watch the interview.
Cool.
We are here for Spartan Up Podcast. Brian Scudamore, did I have that right?
Brian Scudamore.
Scudamore.
Like Scudamore.
1-800-GOT-JUNK.
You got it.
How long have you had this company?
Had the company 29 years.
Jesus.
Started
it's
18.
An overnight success.
Yeah, these overnight success stories sure take a long time.
Yeah.
Right out of high school,
Yeah.
was one course short of graduation, looking to build, not a big business, but something that was going to pay for college. And I couldn't find a summer job, so I was in a McDonald's drive-thru. I see this beat-up old pickup truck with plywood sides filled with junk, and I'm like, that's my ticket. $700, bought a truck, 1-800-GOT-JUNK was born.
Did you finish college?
You know what? So I learned more in 3 years of college while I was running my business. I learned more about business running one more than school.
Yeah.
So made the bold decision to drop out.
Wow.
And the bold decision for me was all about a conversation with my dad. He's a liver transplant surgeon, so Mr. Academics.
Sure.
And I had to sit down with him. I go, Dad, have a seat. Got some good news for you.
I'm going to get in the junk business.
Well, I was already in the junk business,
Right.
but I said I'm quitting school to do this full time.
And he said?
He said, you got to be crazy. Finish your degree.
Right.
You got 1 year left. And I said, you know what? The business opportunity might not always be there. I'm going to stick with my business and see what I can do, and I can always go back to
Are you
university.
happy? Does it bug you? Are you happy?
I'm thrilled. I love it.
Right.
I mean, the only diploma I have is kindergarten. I didn't finish high school. I didn't finish college. Doesn't matter. And it took about 10 years for my dad to say, hey, Brian, I'm
Good
proud
job.
of you and all that kind of stuff. He would tell his friends he was happy, and then it.
I think all
Full
dads
circle.
do that because my dad. I think I do it with my kids. My
Yeah.
dad used to do it with me. I'd never hear him say, "Hey, good job." But you
Yeah.
hear it through the grapevine.
Yeah, it took some time, but now we're mutual admirers of each other.
Nice.
Yeah, it's good.
And that expanded beyond 1-800-JUNK. So now you do.
Yeah, so 22 years of building a business. We got it to, what are we today? $305 million in revenue with
Wow.
1-800-GOT-JUNK. But then
Wow.
we said about 5 years ago, what if we could take our call center, our booking and dispatch software, our marketing, our PR, and parlay it into something bigger? And so really it's about, I believe everyone should be able to be an entrepreneur if they want that opportunity. So
Sure.
we've created this franchise program where people can come in. We sold out of 1-800-GOT-JUNK in Canada, United States, Australia, so we had to create more brands. So under this O2E Brands umbrella, ordinary to exceptional, everything we're doing is about making brands exceptional. We started Wow One Day Painting, where we paint people's homes in a day. You Move Me, a local moving business, and then Shack Shine, windows, gutters. So they all work together. I mean, it's it's
Sure.
a home service business that
People
is all
need to
about
remove
customer
junk. They need to
experience.
paint the house. They need to
Yeah.
clean the windows.
Yeah.
How do you paint the house in a day?
Can you paint a room in a day? That's an easy thing to wrap your head around.
Right.
You put one person, two people in a room, boom, done. Same thing with a house. It's a numbers game.
Right.
You got 8 rooms. You put in anywhere between 8 and 16 painters, and they don't bump into each other. It sounds crowded, but it's not. And there's no rush. There's no compromise in quality. And so I bought the company after being a client.
Sure.
And this whole Wow One Day, I mean, I was wowed that someone can get it done in a day. Why, what's that TV show Murphy Brown where the guy would move in for forever while
Yeah.
he was
Yeah.
painting? It was just like, no,
Ridiculous.
it shouldn't be that way.
We could do it in a day.
Yeah.
And headquarters is here in Canada.
In Vancouver, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So most of our business is in the United States, 87% of the business. I was born in San Francisco, moved up here when I was 8 years old, and so definitely love and do business in both countries.
So you've crushed it. Congrats.
Thanks.
Listeners out there, viewers out there are saying, how do I do that?
right? How do I get motivated? How do I not trip over myself? What takeaways from 20 plus years of doing this would you give us?
29 years, for me, the biggest takeaway is these things take time, right? First thing you said is, wow, overnight success.
Right.
I mean, it took me 8 years to get to $1 million in revenue.
Right.
A lot of people doing what I did would have given up along the way. It's too hard, it's not sexy, it's junk removal.
Right.
But I stuck with it until the point that I could systematize it, franchise it, and scale it. I couldn't have franchised 1-800-GOT-JUNK after a year two.
Sure.
I was still making lots of mistakes. So it's taken the business after 8 years, and we do $1 million a day now.
Wow.
On our busiest days.
Sure.
So it's, I think, just knowing things take time. Everyone, we're millennials, and everyone wants results now, right? Just one click, boom, make things happen. We're in an Amazon type world. I think it's important to remember, at least for me, that it takes a while before you can get that momentum.
Winston Churchill said, never, never, never give up.
Right.
Right, but most people give up.
Yeah, and you give up too soon. You give up just before that hockey stick kind of inflection point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like health and fitness, right?
Sure.
How many people give up after, okay, it's the day to give up your New Year's resolution because it's too hard.
I'm done, not doing it anymore. Yeah, so relentlessness. What else?
Belief in a future vision. So I know tonight one of the things I'll probably get asked by Cal is the concept of the painted picture. I'm a big believer. So in 1997, 8 years into the business, when we hit $1 million, I did almost give up. Right. And I said, I don't know if I like this business. I don't know if my business isn't as big as other people's businesses, and I was competitive at the time and a lot of ego. And then I said, okay, enough negativity. I don't have the brains, I don't have the cash, the high school education, whatever. So I wrote down on paper, one sheet, double-sided, what the future would look like. Not could look like, hope it would look like, but where it was going to go. Right. And I called it the painted picture. And I said, we'd be on the Oprah Winfrey Show, we'd be the FedEx at junk removal, all these things. We'd be in the top 30 cities in North America. All those things happened before December 31st, 2003, the deadline I gave myself.
Nice.
Because, back to the lesson of belief, if you can see it in your mind and actually lock onto that picture and go, yeah, I can do that.
You committed to it. You wrote
committed,
it down.
Even if I didn't know how to get there,
right.
I could see the picture in my mind, and my mind started to make decisions based on getting me there.
Third one.
Free press, power of free press, the Oprah Winfrey Show.
Yeah.
That was us calling up the Oprah Show over and over and over, saying, we've got a story to tell. Right. Every entrepreneur on this planet, everyone watching this podcast, they got a story.
Sure.
If you're trying to build a business or trying to build a cause, whatever it is, go out and tell your story. We're in the storytelling age. Media, social media, hey, tell stories.
I like it. I got a crazy junk story for you. So Dad's in the hospital. He's dying, basically. He's got a heart attack, the whole thing. He has a warehouse that he's losing because he hasn't paid all kinds of bills. Yeah. Right? He's going through really tough times. This is early 90s. He rented some space to some less than clean guys that are doing metal business and junk business in Long Island. And apparently the local city is now going to come down on him while he's in the hospital, while he can't pay the bills in the building, because all this junk is there. So I, at my expense, have to get a bunch of machinery and garbage containers to come and start to clean this thing up. As I'm doing it, the guys who had rented the space show up.
Yeah.
And they see that the metal that we're getting rid of is worth money. Right. Because you get paid on metal.
Yeah.
And they whisper to one of the truck drivers while I'm loading equipment at my expense. I have nothing to do with this.
Right.
Hey, we want the money you're getting for each one of those containers. I drive over to their brand new Bronco truck and I crushed it with the backhoe. Crushed it.
Nice.
Continued to do the work I was doing.
Yeah.
They came back about 3 hours later with 6 or 7 guys, and they beat the shit out of me. I mean, baseball bats, the whole thing, which led to
This is a true story.
True story. Which led to a sit down, which would occur in Queens or Brooklyn.
Sure.
Where, the boss from this and my dad whispers to me from his hospital bed, and he's like, next time you leave. 2 weeks later, you burn their house down. Because you don't do it in front of them. So that's the kind of neighborhood.
Gee, wow.
So you need 1-800 burn the house down.
Holy crap, that's a good story.
We are in Morzine, France right now. It's absolutely unbelievable. We're on a gondola going to the top of the mountain.
So, Johnny, I see you got your athletic greens with you.
I do.
He's quite the athlete.
Do you drink it straight or do you mix it?
We'll mix it with...
Do you drink it straight, Colonel?
Oh, no, you mean
I
with
mix
water?
it with some orange juice or any
Yeah,
other
sure.
kind of grape juice or anything?
You know what's funny? I actually drink it with water. And other ones I've had to do that with, I've drank greens for years. And there are a lot of them you do have to put it in like cranberry juice or something to make it palatable. This is actually really nice. It's funny, Andrea this morning, she was looking for it saying, you know, where's my greens? Like I'm looking forward to this, not I just have to get it in me.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, it's like anything else, right? Once you get used to it in your bodies, right? Boom.
Yeah. And I think
You're looking for it.
I think our bodies get spoiled by this. There's 75 raw natural ingredients, and it's everything you need. Like it's a very complete supplement. So I think that's true. Like once you start taking it, your body gets used to it and wants it.
Yeah, there's dandelion in it. It's really good for your liver. There's chlorella and spirulina, which is like algae. You can be an Algerian. And then because
Asian.
because it gives you oxygen in it. It oxygenates your blood. So now that we're high up in the mountain elevations, we need a little bit extra oxygen in our lungs. So
we are high up
work
here.
on that.
We're about to get off the gondola at the top of Morzine, France.
Oh,
and,
I see wild lupins, and I found wild ribes, red currants.
Which is probably...
Can you throw them in there?
Yeah, so that's what I do. I usually take things I forage and I find, and that's what I throw into my little athletic greens.
Well, you don't even
Spice it
But
up.
you don't need to.
You don't
Make
even
it
have to
bio-
forage for this.
Yeah,
you love
bioregionally
foraging.
local.
For those of us who can't be bothered to forage,
Go forage in your kitchen cabinet
Yeah,
for
exactly.
a packet of athletic greens.
we forage as far as the fridge, and we're all set. So
Beautiful.
now we're all set.
But now our fridge is in France, so.
Go ahead, Tim. We're cutting you off. Here.
No, that's it. Good. That's it. We're coming into these.
Cheers,
we gotta
guys.
get off.
We're coming to the top. We got to get out of here.
This episode of Spartan Up is brought to you by Athletic Greens. Ensure your body gets the nutrition it needs. Athletic Greens has a special offer for our listeners. Just go to athleticgreens.com/Spartan, and then when you place your order, they'll send you a free travel pack with 20 individually wrapped packets. That's a free offer just for our listeners.
That was awesome. You like him?
Yeah, loved him.
So there's a part of the story you guys did not see, but the audience saw, and I want to fill you in on this. And I think it's somewhat cathartic that I got this root canal, and so old memories are coming out.
Yeah, the quick background there. We're doing a couple of podcasts today, and Joe arrived straight from the dentist, having had a root canal. And so, if you're watching this and think, "What's going on with Joe?" That's what's going on with Joe. He's overcoming an obstacle.
But in fairness, I didn't need the root canal. I just wanted to do something like our guests talk about, like just push limits.
Yeah.
Right? Just see what it was like to deal with pain.
In fact, we're going to be introducing that at all Spartan races from now on.
Anybody who wants to
Discounted
go to
root
the next
canals.
level, there's a sprint, super, beast, and then beast with a root canal.
So back to your story.
All right, so I'm 20-something years old, only because you guys haven't seen this yet, and my dad is having all kinds of financial troubles. He's in the hospital. He's dying of a heart attack, and there are a couple of guys that are in the garbage business, like Brian, that he has given some space to next to the warehouse. Fast forward, and the town is coming down on my dad while he's in the hospital dying, while he's losing his warehouse. He hasn't paid rent, and they want this thing removed. So I simply do what any normal person would do. I call the guys and I said, "Hey, listen, my father was kind enough to let you use this place the last 2-3 years. It's time you go." And they were like, "No, we're not going." So I decide with my guys, 'cause I was doing construction at the time, we're going to go there with some heavy equipment.
You have to remind them where you grew up. Where are
we're up
we?
in Queens. We go there, and I'm going to clean this thing up quickly at my expense because my dad's dying, right? I got all these emotional things going on and real things going on. So we're cleaning this thing up, and it turns out with garbage, Brian didn't talk about it, metal, you actually get paid for metal.
Yeah, scrap it.
Right?
Yeah.
And this was early days. You're talking about early 90s at this point. Anyway, I'm cleaning this whole thing up, and the guys show up, the guys who had been using the land.
With metal bats.
You're stealing their copper wire in their mind.
I'm thinking, this is great. They're going to help. Now, this is camaraderie. We're going to work together. No, they want the money for their metal. I hear this. I'm already wound up because I spent all this money to do this. My dad's in the hospital, and I can't help myself. It's one of those things that happens.
You saw an opportunity.
It wasn't even an opportunity. It was like a switch that went off my brain that I couldn't control. And so I drove over to their Bronco and I crushed it with the backhoe. But I didn't mean to. It was just like a reaction, you know?
Sure.
Yeah.
And
Honor.
I didn't kill
Like
anybody.
I say, plenty of guys in prison
Moment.
with that story.
I didn't kill anybody, but they left. They scurried out of there. Yeah. And 3 hours later, while we were still cleaning up, they showed up with a lot of people and baseball bats. And,
I knew it. I knew
and
baseball bats were
And
gonna
I
come
took a
into it.
beating that night. And
It made a root canal look like a walking.
why
You know
Yeah,
what?
root
I
canal.
think the root canal is actually worse because when your adrenaline's going and you're in a fight like that with like, Anyway, I don't know why we went off track and I told you that story, but
No, because you mentioned
Because
it,
it
you
was-
mentioned on the video, and we didn't see it, but Marion said that she thought it was great and wanted to keep it in. That's fantastic.
but the junk business could be a good business. In Brian's
sure.
case, it's an amazing business, almost $500
That's
million
what-
in
Well,
revenue.
you know, in addition to the business itself, the business of business, that was what I found most interesting about this. You know, he talked about he was just about done high school, and he started this business because he couldn't find a job. He just started as a summer job kind of thing, and then decided he was going to keep going with this. His dad was an academic, wanted him to go to school, a doctor actually,
doctor.
and he said, you know, I learned more doing business than I ever would have in a business program, and has gone on to create this empire. But I laughed how he talked about 29 years. You called it an overnight success. And you guys had some fun with that. But the idea that something he said that I just want to make sure people picked up on, because he said it kind of quickly, was there were so many times when you think, is this worth it? What am I doing this for? You know, it's not overnight. It took him 8 years. He said 8 years till they made $1 million. And now they make $1 million every day. They do $350 million a year.
For the audience out there, and then for you guys chime in here, there's a common theme amongst the 200 podcasts we've released, whether it was Barry Hearns with Matchbook or any of the female mountain climbers or Elizabeth Wheel, and right? Like, they just don't quit.
Yeah, sure.
Right? The adaptive athletes, they just don't quit.
Yep.
And so there are certainly times in life where you're supposed to
Persistence.
pivot.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
But and that's, for me, that's the hardest thing to verbalize to the audience, is like, because I don't know, like, there's no formula for that.
But the other part of the not quitting is, for most of these, all of these people I think that you've talked to, it's combined with the vision, right? So they are not quitting because they are trying to get someplace or to do something or achieve something. A lot of people who are just in a salt mine just working. It's not their vision. They're working for somebody else.
Yeah, that's fair.
Right. So
That's fair.
it's much easier to quit when you're not invested and you're not bought in. And you talk about that in some of the podcasts about how you could actually, it'd be easier to quit. What do you talk about when you say, I'm screwing this up here, but
True North?
no. But you say it would be easier to quit and walk away if you get back to your corner and you put everything into it.
Yeah. No.
Once you've burned the boats,
Right. Yeah.
Once you burn the bridges, No, that's right. Like, in Vermont, I had a good case study where we started a bunch of businesses: the farm, the wedding business, the general store, etc., even a outdoor foraging business. Yep. And what I found happened, I thought you could just find young people.
I make about $1 million a day off that, Joe.
I thought you could just find young people that were really passionate, that wanted to do this, and I would take away all the obstacles, right? Yeah. I would take away the mortgage payments and the struggle. And I think what happened after looking at it for 10 years was actually it's the mortgage payments and the struggle and all those things, burning the bridges.
Sure. It's the responsibility.
That's
that
what makes you succeed.
Well, there's an interesting analogy to that, and it's some of the kids who struggle the most after they're born are the ones who come out by cesarean section, because they don't go through that squishing, squeezing process, that difficult birthing process.
Is that true?
And they say that birthing process and the stress it puts on the baby is actually very good for it. And so
I've never heard that
Johnny, but that makes sense.
I'm going to check that with the wife.
No,
it makes sense.
I'm quite certain about that. That tough path out and being squished and crunched and everything else is actually a very important part of it. And so the ones who don't go through that. So like you say, you took some of those birthing pains out of these people with their businesses, and not to say
the Russians, they take them right and throw them in cold water.
Yeah,
too.
so I was just thinking, if you get your kid and put him under a rock
I want
to
take something Tim said and expand on it, because a really important part about this podcast, when you talked about that vision, he actually really expands on vision, and he talked directly about having, at one point in his business, saying, what the hell am I doing? Why am I doing this? If I'm going to stay at this, I really need to get crystal clear on why I'm doing this. And he wrote down, we are going to be so successful that we're going to be interviewed by Oprah. We are going to be in X number of countries. He actually mapped it out and he wrote it all down and he looked at it every day.
And wrote a due date.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then he had a date that he
and
would
then
do
he
by.
I was going to say, and he talked about the power of the free press, right? And he just kept going after, kept going after until he could finally get on that kind of show. And then it opens up.
But he made it
like
happen.
Martha Stewart.
He made it happen. He visualized it and made it happen. I don't know if you remember, we interviewed Nate Carr, famous wrestler, and he had the reverse, where in his mind he would actually he'd visualize the negative, write it down on a piece of paper, crumple it up, and throw it in a fire.
Sure, yeah.
Right. So now we have the two sides of that. So you have two pads.
Yep.
One pad where you throw away the things. The other pad where you write them down and deliver them.
And there's something to be said for that. In retreats I've done, I've had people write down all the regrets, all their anxieties, and literally drop it into a fire and stand there and watch it burn.
No,
it's
but
very
you
powerful.
can't breathe in that smoke, because that smoke has super bad energy.
Well, they
in it.
stand back. They stand.
No, I'm telling you.
Hey,
I've been.
It's not written on plastic. This is paper that's
It's
burning.
paper.
paper.
Trust me.
That's natural
Trust
burning.
Me, do not breathe in that smoke from those fires.
Speak of burning.
Isn't it the-
Let's
journey.
go back to 1-800-GOT-JUNK for a minute.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this guy, he creates this business, starts with one little truck.
Yeah.
He said it took him several years for his dad to say, "Hey, I'm proud of you. I think you're doing a great thing here." But they're now. I love this that he said we came up against another hurdle. We'd sold every possible franchise in Canada, the U.S., and Australia. I guess we're out of the franchise business. And he said, no, we're not at all. We're just about to get into the franchise business. He realized that all 1-800-GOT-JUNK actually was a platform for him to build a business. And he said, we are now in the business building business. And he wants to create 1 million entrepreneurs, I think he said. And the idea is, so they said, okay, what else can we do? They bought the paint your home in a day.
Yeah.
They're franchising that. The moving company, franchising that. The gutter removal. And there's something to be said for that. And Joe, with Spartan Race, you've created a system and a brand that is being licensed around the world to different markets. And with something like 1-800-GOT-JUNK or with something like Spartan Race, there's something to be said for creating something so powerful that you can then empower other people to succeed with it. Talk about that.
Yeah, so there's nothing more inspiring for an entrepreneur, I'm sure, or any of us, is when somebody, I'm sorry, I'm slurring, my mouth is not working well from the root canal, but watching somebody else take that blueprint and run with it, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I mean, everybody's done it. Starbucks has done it. McDonald's has done it, right? They've all done this. But for us, it's a little more rewarding because it's like this is really purposeful and healthy, and we're doing some really cool stuff. And so to watch it get stamped out around the world in Slovakia, Hungary, you name it, has been amazing. I don't know if I answered the question.
No, sure. No, but the idea about the why, and he talked about his why. And
gotta have a why.
And his why now is no longer about moving junk. His why is about creating opportunities for entrepreneurs. And he really is in the business of franchising entrepreneurship more than anything.
And I like what he said, that it's not a glamorous thing. Actually, my mom's father grew up, when we was growing up in Worcester, we've been a couple generations in the country, but he started a rag business. Why? Because he saw that there was all this extra cloth and all these extra rags that were being used. And before they had those Home Depot process cleaning rags that you would use, you'd basically use that to recycle all the fabric. And so that's what my mom's father did. And it was super successful and started out really small and then got really big. And there's a lot to be said for
1-800-GOT-RAGS.
1-800-GOT-RAGS. Yeah, I know.
Right.
It's a gypsy's dream industry.
With that.
With that,
Sefra,
one
take us
man
away.
gathers
Take
what
us away.
another man spills. Yeah, thank you, Jerry. Go to Spartan.com/podcast and subscribe on iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you watch, and we'll come pick up your junk.
If it's in the trunk.
This episode of Spartan Up is brought to you by Athletic Greens. Ensure your body gets the nutrition it needs. Athletic Greens has a special offer for our listeners. Just go to athleticgreens.com/Spartan, and then when you place your order, they'll send you a free travel pack with 20 individually wrapped packets. That's a free offer just for our listeners. Thanks for listening to another epic story of success. If you like our show, be sure to tell your friends about it. We want to hear from you. Just leave us a comment below if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're listening, go to Twitter and find us at Spartan Up Pod or Instagram at Spartan Up Podcast, and let us know what you think. Then go subscribe on iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you listen to our show. Spartan Up is brought to you by Spartan Race. To find a race near you, visit Spartan.com.